Nobody builds a $100 million empire from nothing without bleeding first. Most people who hit their first million fall straight into the trap and lose it all. Only a fraction ever claw their way back to God status. This is your journey, and it starts here. $18.62. That is your available balance, not your savings, your reality. You check the app after 12-hour shift, sitting in a parked car because the apartment you share with 3 roommates is too loud. You owe $41,000 in student loans. You have a $3,800 in a credit card debt at 24% interest. And Thursday's paycheck is already spent on rent and utilities. You are 24. You tell yourself everyone starts from the bottom, but every trip to the grocery store is a high-stakes operation. Your eyes light up the second you spot a 20% discount on the generic brand cornflakes you eat every morning. Every single purchase is a gamble against overdraft fees. The terminal says processing. It feels like a judge deliberating your life sentence. Approved. You live to fight another day. With $10 to your name, a setback isn't a problem you fix. It's a new reality you endure. Broken laptop? Guess we're just using our phone from now on. Toothache? Get used to chewing on the left side of your mouth. You ignore the grinding sound your brake pads are making because acknowledging it makes it a liability you cannot afford. At this tier, money is oxygen. You don't think about it until you are choking. At 0, your financial strategy is purely defensive. Defense keeps you alive, but it never moves you forward. After 2 years of hard work, you finally get a promotion. It's a bump of $11,000 a year. After taxes, it's roughly $660 extra a month. You feel an immediate, intoxicating rush of relief that lasts for exactly one good night out with friends. In the morning, you remember the aching tooth, the broken laptop, and the faulty brakes on your car. All in all, $2,400. You realize the extra income won't buy freedom. It will just pay the hidden toll of everything you had to ignore while you were surviving. And then, your credit card debt. You spend the next 13 months paying it off. At last, you make the final payment. You feel a gigantic weight dropping off your shoulders. For the first time, you force the numbers to move in the right direction. 3 more years of hard work and small raises. You cross $10,000 in savings. You don't spend a dime of it. The psychological armor of $10,000 drastically outweighs its actual purchasing power. You aren't rich, but the floor has stopped crumbling beneath your feet. But you look around. You're still living in a shared apartment. You still drive an aging Civic. You are still on and off with your girlfriend. You start thinking about raising your baseline. A modern car. A 1-bedroom rental apartment. You can't even begin to calculate what it would cost to have kids. You realize that if you upgrade your life right now, your savings will be wiped out in 3 months. Gradual salary raises are not going to cut it. You need to level up. You start consuming information. You bypass the scammers and the get-rich-quick influencers. You start reading about compound interest, asset allocation, and capital gains. You open a Vanguard account. It sits unfunded for a month. Finally, you wire $2,000 into an S&P 500 index fund. 3 days later, the market drops 4%. Your instinct screams at you to sell, to protect the hoard. You don't. You sit on your hands. The shift. You stop viewing money as a shield to hide behind and start viewing it as a tool to swing. 5 years pass. You keep grinding at work, and your early investments start to compound. You are now making $74,000 a year. Your net worth quietly crosses $50,000. You are doing everything the system asked of you. You have a 6-month emergency fund. You drive a sensible 3-year-old sedan. You live in a rented 1-bedroom in the suburbs. To your parents, you are a resounding success. Then, on a Sunday morning, you build a projection model. You map out your 3% annual raises, your 7% market returns, and your inflation-adjusted living expenses. You look at the final number waiting for you at age 65. it drops like a stone in your stomach. The math works, but the lifestyle is aggressively mediocre. You realize you have optimized for survival, not for freedom. You start an online side project, just a thing you do late at night and early in the morning. It makes $200 the first month. By month 3, it's $1,400. After a year, it's $3,300 a month. You keep your mouth shut at your day job. You funnel every dollar of profit into Vanguard or back into the project. Your net worth hits $150,000. The divergence begins. You acutely feel the widening gap between your trajectory and the trajectory of your coworkers. Your investments return $14,000 in dividends and growth this year. Money you did not trade your time to earn. Soon, you have months where your side income and investments completely outgrow your paycheck. You now value your time at a specific hourly rate, and you ruthlessly eliminate any task that doesn't pay it. 8 years later, you cross $400,000. Your index funds sit at $190,000. Your side business is now your main, netting $14,000 a month. You still wear the same clothes. You notice a distinct friction in your social life. When friends complain about the economy or their bosses, you have to actively suppress the urge to offer solutions. You decline an invitation to a bachelor party in Mexico because spending $4,000 to drink with acquaintances is mathematically offensive to you. Your friends call you cheap. You let them. You understand something they don't. You can't trade your financial freedom for social comfort. At $850,000, your capital has a gravitational pull. It generates its own momentum. You take a $40,000 hit on a bad real estate deal. You sleep perfectly fine that night. You respect the loss, but you recognize it as just part of the game. Amateurs think the goal is to never lose money. Pros know the goal is to price the risk correctly and survive the inevitable setbacks. But even the most seasoned pros can fall into the ultimate trap. Feeling invincible as your investments compound at full speed, you make your first fatal mistake. You close your business, relax, and wait for that magical 7-figure number to hit. $993,000. That is your net worth, but it won't be for long. It's almost 4 p.m. on a Friday. You are riding the wave of a massive investment success. Finally, the market closes. You calculate your net worth. $1,012,000. You are officially a millionaire. The dopamine hit is absolutely intoxicating. You sign a lease on a downtown penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows. You walk into a luxury dealership and drive out in a $120,000 Mercedes SUV. You start picking up $400 tabs at restaurants without even glancing at the receipt. You aren't just rich, you're a genius. Your vision paid off. You post your success into a private elite investor group chat. They congratulate you, but warn you that $1 million is where the real work starts. You need to diversify. Hire a tax specialist and get into wealth management. You leave them on red. They are just jealous. You feel entirely invincible. For 7 weeks, you live at the absolute peak. Then, a Tuesday afternoon. A disastrous political tariff announcement triggers a violent, industry-wide market sell-off. The red line on your portfolio chart plummets. You have $942,000. You are no longer a millionaire. Your chest tightens, but you laugh it off in the group chat. But beneath the bravado, the math is ticking like a bomb. You are bleeding $14,000 a month in pure overhead. 5 months pass. The market hasn't recovered, but your spending hasn't slowed down. Your net worth is now $680,000. The liquidity is drying up. To keep paying your overhead, you are forced to sell off your remaining index funds at a massive loss. You are officially cannibalizing your own portfolio just to keep the lights on in a house that is too big for you. The smart move, the mathematical move, is obvious. Break the lease on the SUV and the house. Cut your burn rate in half, take the hit to your pride, and live to fight another day. But you imagine the whispers from your friends. You imagine the look of pity from your family. So, you double down on the facade. You start playing a dangerous, exhausting game of financial Tetris. You float the expenses for the bachelor party in Mexico onto your high-interest credit card. You still pick up the tab at dinner, but now you argue with your girlfriend about her expensive wine taste. Every month, the portfolio shrinks. You are down to $510,000. The wealth that was supposed to buy your freedom has become a prison of your own making. You are no longer an investor. You are a man burning his own furniture just to keep the house warm. The balance hits $485,000. The slow bleed is driving you insane. Your ego flat out rejects a disciplined recovery plan. You don't want to rebuild. You want a time machine. You need an instant fix. A highly volatile tech company is announcing earnings on Thursday. You scroll through forums and watch a couple of YouTube videos. You convince yourself the market has priced it wrong. You don't just take a position, you take a stand. You liquidate $250,000 of your remaining index funds and dump it entirely into short-term call options. It is a pure, unadulterated gamble. But in your head, it's a calculated strike. If it hits, you will be a millionaire again by Friday morning. The nightmare will be over. For 48 hours, you feel alive. The suffocating anxiety of the slow bleed is replaced by the intoxicating rush of the casino. Then, the earnings report drops. They miss revenue targets by just 2%. It isn't a catastrophic business failure, but to Wall Street, it's a miss. The stock violently gaps down 18% in after-hours trading. Because you used leverage, your options are completely mathematically incinerated. In the span of 4 seconds, $250,000 evaporates into literal thin air. You stare at the screen until your eyes burn. $235,000. You can no longer hide the reality from your friends, your family, or yourself. The gamble didn't save your lifestyle, it just executed it. The fire sale begins. In a vacuum, $200,000 you have left is still a life-changing amount of money. But you have built a life that burns cash like jet fuel. You finally return the Mercedes to the dealership. You pay a $12,000 penalty just to break the lease early. You move into a rented, aggressively average suburban apartment. The group chats that used to ping constantly with tips, golf invites, and steakhouse dinners suddenly go quiet. You bump into an old friend at a coffee shop. You see the brief, unfiltered look of pity in his eyes before he quickly looks away. He doesn't ask how your portfolio is doing. He already knows. You desperately need an income. You dust off a resume you haven't touched in years. But the job market doesn't care about your past glory. To corporate recruiters, your recent history of independent investing just looks like a massive gap in employment. You are deemed too unstable for executive roles and a flight risk for the mid-level jobs you are now forced to apply for. Month by month, the apartment rent, the groceries, the health insurance, and the lingering credit card debt from your glory days chip away at the remaining pile. $54,000. You are no longer playing to win. You are just sitting in the waiting room, watching the clock tick down on your own financial mortality. The number hits 0. The apartment is quiet. The luxury watches are gone. The portfolio is empty. The last of the cash was swallowed by a massive, unavoidable medical bill. You check your banking app, $18.62. You are officially broke. You sit at a cheap, wobbly kitchen table, illuminated only by the cold blue light of the phone screen. For the first time in 3 years, you aren't terrified. The worst thing that could possibly happen to you has already happened. The monster finally caught you, and you realize it didn't kill you. You take a deep breath. You look at 1862, but unlike the 24-year-old who looks at that number with despair, you look at it with absolute clarity. You lost the money, but you didn't lose the blueprint. The market took your capital, but it couldn't repossess the financial literacy you built. You know how to read an earnings report. You understand compounding. You know how to recognize a trend before the crowd. And more importantly, you now have the one thing no textbook can teach you: the battle scar of a catastrophic loss. You finally understand risk. You are entirely devoid of the ego that destroyed you. You are no longer trying to look rich. You are simply ready to build. You open a new tab on your laptop. You don't check crypto charts or get-rich-quick influencers. You pull up a simple, boring job board. You find an entry-level sales role. The base salary is embarrassing compared to your past life. You apply anyway. You know that with extreme discipline, you can survive on 40% of that salary. You know that you can funnel the rest into a Vanguard index fund, and you know exactly how long it takes for that snowball to roll into a boulder. You aren't starting over from scratch. You are starting over from experience. Armed with that experience, you stop playing for the applause. You put your head down and execute. No flashy purchases, no premature victory laps. Fast forward 10 years, you claw your way back and hit 1 million again. But this time, you don't pop champagne. There is only a brief, sterile satisfaction, immediately followed by the sobering reality of the math. $1 million at a 4% safe withdrawal rate is $40,000 a year before taxes. You cannot retire without anxiety. You can barely rent a nice house on a tropical island on that yield. The existential crisis hits. You didn't sacrifice your 20s for $40,000 a year. You realize the million was never the destination. It was just the entry fee to the actual game. You are no longer trying to prove you can make money. You are trying to build systems that make money independent of your existence. You start operating in quiet rooms, on encrypted messaging apps, with people who have nothing to prove. You stop thinking about numbers and short-term returns. You are buying the relationships, the hidden knowledge, and the influence that will eventually make you untouchable. At $4.5 million, the hum of financial anxiety is permanently silenced. Money transitions from a metric of survival to a raw material. It is lumber. It is steel. You fire your CPA because he's too conservative and hire an elite tax strategist who quietly sets up an offshore shell company network for you to evade as much taxes as possible. Your business grosses $6.8 million. Your portfolio is heavily diversified across equities, private credit, and commercial real estate. At $12 million, the mechanics of wealth creation change entirely. You aren't hustling for clients. You are allocating capital. You write a $250,000 check for a seed-stage tech startup. You write another $400,000 check into a distressed debt fund. You expect one to fail entirely and the other to return 4 times. This asymmetric risk profile is impossible to explain to your family, so you just tell them you're diversifying. You are invited into rooms where the actual levers of the economy are pulled. A private equity firm wants your operating expertise for a roll-up strategy. They don't want your resume. They want your capital and your battle scars. You are an equal at the table. You are 63. The number is above $100 million. You don't even know the exact number. It doesn't concern you. You think in decades, global crises, and demographic shifts. You sit in a private dining room in Manhattan. 4 other people are at the table. Together, you control enough liquidity to build a city. You commit $15 million to a joint venture that will alter the fate of a small African country. There are no contracts signed at the table. Just a verbal agreement that is more binding than any legal document because, at this altitude, reputation is the only currency that matters. You leave the dinner early. You walk past a corner shop. Inside, a 25-year-old is staring at his phone. His balance is $18.62. He is holding a jumbo bag of generic brand cornflakes. He is doing the math. He believes that if he can just get a better job, the pressure in his chest will go away. He believes money is the end of the story. He doesn't know about the isolation. He doesn't know about the distance he will have to put between himself and everyone he loves to reach the untouchable level. The market doesn't care about his anxiety, and it doesn't care about your millions. The machine wakes up every day, entirely agnostic to human emotion. It simply demands sacrifice, discipline, and time. Those who flinch get crushed. Those who endure compound.